Welcome to another segment of ACRP TV. Today, our spotlight is on exploring career opportunities in clinical research, a very timely topic. A lot's been going on in clinical research, certainly been in the news a lot lately. It's always been a very attractive career, but it's a strange industry where there's not a lot of obvious career paths. And a lot of people, when you talk to them, ask them how they got into clinical research, you hear all sorts of ways and all sorts of situations. So it's not a typical career path in the sense of being for such a big industry. It's unusual that we have this scattered approach in a way, but we've got a good guest to talk with us today about it. Tamara Bowles is the Vice President for Human Capital Management at WCG. And Tamara, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I rambled a bit there at the beginning, but it's just because this industry, I love this industry, but it still boggles my mind occasionally how we don't have particularly established career paths, considering what an important industry this is, how many people are in it, how the workflows are so good, but the career aspect is a little Wild West, if you will. So talk about how can people, get started in clinical research if they're interested in it?
Well, Michael, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with people about it because it isn't obvious on how do you get into this industry. I will say over a couple decades, I now see more academic programs that are offering bachelor's and master degree programs in clinical research, but that wasn't necessarily the case even say 10 years ago. It wasn't as popular. And so what I have found over the course of my career is that there tends to be either a passion towards science and bringing that love of science oftentimes with business. And so what I see in many individuals that are looking for is that they want to be able to contribute, particularly kind of feel that altruistic value that it brings by being in this field, but they know they don't want to be a scientist. They know they don't want to be on the bench doing the R&D work per se. And so one of the things I found has been really, really positive in terms of breaking into this field is exposure. And so this is such an important opportunity for us to talk about that there are opportunities, whether from site startup, feasibility, certainly the clinical research administrator role and things like that, but getting more exposure to individuals and allowing them to understand the aspects of what roles are out there, that's really the best way for people to learn. And so companies like myself are looking for ways that we can connect with those coming out of school and environments where we can say, hey, this is another opportunity of a track that you may not fully understand, might not really know that is out there. And, there are a lot of entry-level positions, whether from data management to project management and all of that in between, where we can create some opportunities.
Now, I'm thinking of a parallel. Back in the 1970s, all the President's Men came out and suddenly everybody wanted to be a journalist. And I'm wondering if in 2020 with COVID, a lot of people, do you think is raising awareness of clinical trials as an important career?
I do. And I'm fortunate to work with an organization like WCG where we may not be on the forefront in the news when you think about the work with COVID, but we were certainly involved in a number of aspects from either the ethical review. So if they don't know what an IRB is, I remember turning on to CNN and they were actually talking about IRBs and safety adjudication committees, which is part of the work of what we do. And so I think we're seeing a lot more visibility to a field in an area that I think was clouded in mystery. Everyone knows the FDA, but they are pretty unclear about all the things that have to happen from, say, the discovery of some treatment all the way through approval with the FDA and certainly post-marketing studies. And so this has really, I think, given an opportunity for our industry to really pull the curtain back and allow them to better understand all of the precautions, all of the steps, all of the work that's done to actually bring these things to market. And as we like to say at WCG, the tireless work that a lot of people are doing to save lives.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk now a bit about someone sees this segment, they decide to jump into clinical trials. And then, so a couple of years from now, they've been in the industry for a little while. Talk about ways you can grow your career. Because again, the career paths in this industry are not as clear as they are in some other industries. I'll put it that way.
No, you're right. And I think one of the things that people have to be open to the idea is that the way to grow your career can happen in many different ways. People instinctively think about the horizontal growth, right? Moving up to the next level. And certainly there are opportunities to do that. But I also think about the opportunities that happen vertically, and I call them transferring into other areas. What I have found has been really successful for people is being open to explore different areas. For example, if you work in one therapeutic area, say, for example, oncology, there's a lot of work and things you can learn in that area, but you can also learn in another therapeutic area. It goes the same way when it comes to careers. So if you start out in, say, a study startup opportunity or maybe project management, be open to going into another side of the business because it's going to make you even more well rounded. And honestly, that totality of your experience is what is going to be really, really marketable as you may be thinking about that next vertical opportunity that you want to get. And so I just tell people, success isn't always from point A to B and it's a straight line. I want people to think about that exposure and really getting a good grasp, whether it's going from pharma, CROs, thinking about even clinical service companies, medical diagnostic. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can be a part of the industry that don't be afraid to really try your hand at something that you haven't tried before. Nobody's done it all. And so you're going to be even more well-rounded if you are able to have that exposure in those different areas. And you'll find that it will allow you and really position you to be ready for that next step, whether it is something of increased responsibilities or just something new to learn.
Fantastic. We've been speaking with Tamara Bowles, who's the Vice President for Human Capital Management at WCG. This has been our ACRP TV Spotlight on exploring career opportunities in clinical research. Thank you so much for joining us, Tamara.
Thank you so much, Michael.